I have a bean cart from which I have been living with groceries for 5 years. The situation I am about to talk about happened to me years ago. The first time I started opening the cart, I was standing in an area in Alexandria, before dawn, and I was starting to prepare food, with my son Fod with me. Every day, not even a few minutes before dawn, I used to find an old man living on the first floor of the building that was in front of the car, and he always asked me for 2 pounds of beans. A man with a smiley face, and it was clear that he was very ill to the point that he could not speak 2 words to each other. He asked for the order and remained silent. Of course, I was making it and giving it to Fod to drop it off on the Saturday he was staying. As soon as he entered, I found 4 children opening the second window, standing in it, and kept hitting me while laughing and holding hands, and of course I was being nice to them. This situation has been going on for more than 2 months. The man asks for a bag of beans for 2 pounds. He enters and closes the window. The 4 children come out of the other window and keep doing their movements while the windows are in front of me. I even kept preparing a bag of beans for him because I knew he would ask for it, until the day I came earlier than I was accustomed to coming. At that time, it was after Eid. Of course, I was taking Eid leave and said I would come early that day. I always came with a bicycle carrying a load of beans and the rest of the food. When I arrived and was still getting off the bicycle, I heard the sound of a scream coming from the building, the same floor as the old man's. I was hesitant whether to go out or not, but I said, keep it to myself. But when I heard the sound of the scream, it came again, but Al Muradi was more than one scream. At that time, I said to Fod, keep in mind, I hope I go out and see what's wrong with him. I ran and went out and reached the floor. There were 2 apartments, one with dirt on it and the other with a clean door. I went to the apartment with a clean door and kept knocking while saying, "Open, Uncle Hatch. You who are here." But I discovered that the screams were coming from the other dusty door. I was a little surprised, but I went and banged. "Oh, dope, you banged." The door opened for a long time. It was clear that it was not closed properly. I saw from outside that there was light inside in the last room. Open. Open. We will die. We will suffocate. Open, Dad. We will never do it again. The sound of the 4 children calling for help, and along with their sound, they were screaming and banging hard on one of the doors inside. I entered and followed the sound and found it was a door to my right when I entered, and it was clear that it was the bathroom door. "Uncle Hatch. Oh, Hatch." I kept calling the old man whose name I didn't even know. His voice came from inside the room from which the lights came out, and he said, "Leave them. I have no invitation. Go away from here, it will be better for you. These are my children and I am raising them." I took exactly 2 steps to look at him. I saw the room and the children's screams increased so much that I put my hands on my hips from the intensity of the screams. For a few seconds, I swear I felt that the screams were coming from inside my head. I don't know why I started to get afraid, and in fact, Laura came back and went out of the room and went downstairs and said, "Whatever is happening, I am not invited." There was a buzzing or a whistle inside my heart. I couldn't even hear my son's voice. My eyes were teary and I was rubbing them to no avail. My eyes remained on my mind. When I looked at the building in the first floor, I found the same scene repeated again, but the children were standing next to each other in the window and making the same strange movements. A few seconds later, the old man came out and said 2 words very firmly. I could not hear him because of the buzzing. But the man this time was different and his looks were different. Also, he laughs a laugh that I don't know what he means by it until today, a laugh of malice or evil or kindness or what I don't know, they were mixed together. Of course, when Saturday came, I kept staring at him and not hearing him, but I expected what he said. My son came to me after workers met him and said, "Dad, for 2 pounds of beans for his uncle. Are you not listening or what?" I gave the bag to Fod and he greeted him on Saturday, and he remained standing and watching him and his family for a few minutes. When he was late, I called for him. When Fod Baali started approaching me, they went inside and closed the windows behind them. I said to Fod when he came to me, "What made you stop? I didn't tell you to leave the bag and come back soon." He was talking to me, and he was consulting me, but I couldn't hear anything. I tried to extract a few words from him until I was able to sort of understand what he said to me. That's why I told him after I was sure. "Are you saying that the old man's children told you to come and play with us?" When he shook his head, I was terrified, and I warned him not to go out to them and not even think that they were there. I was afraid for him, an obvious fear, because when I went out, the weather was not normal. A father tortures his children and locks them in the bathroom. It was a difficult day for me because I literally couldn't hear anything except the annoying siren sound. There was a customer who ate from me every day before he went to work. I did not know any details about him other than his name and that he lived in the same building, but I did not know which floor was on it, especially since it had 7 floors and each floor had 2 apartments. When he came out of the building and I saw him coming to me, I saw a look of worry in his features. I told him while he was coming, "Please, Engineer Omar, take a few seconds and your order will be ready." I actually started to prepare the request for him. About a minute ago, I found Fod holding me by the hand. When I looked at him, he showed me Omar. When I looked at him, he was talking to me and making a motion with his hand to tell me to leave him. He left what was in my hands and I went to him. We were a little away from the car in the building, and before he spoke to me, I told him, "Forgive me, Professor Omar, I just don't hear well." He shook his head, meaning he knows. He took out a small note from his pocket, asked me, and walked away. I caught it while watching him with my eyes, and I was surprised. He walked away and I went back to Arabic. "Oh, you were so low-key and I lost everything," but in my mind was the topic of the note that I didn't know how to open because of the pressure of work. When I returned home and threw myself on the bed, I opened the note and the following was written on it. Uncle Nabil, do not talk or deal with this man you are seeing. I wanted to tell you that ever since I saw you sending your son a bag of beans and putting him on Saturdays. Uncle Nabil, you must know that this man has been dead for years, along with his children. As I tell you so and so. I didn't read exactly. He was a stingy and mean man. When the kids were in prison, we used to hear them screaming and we couldn't talk because he was crazy. One time, when he called us out to catch them, he came out with a bad name and was going to curse Mr. Noor, who was in the 3rd grade. When he left him, we preferred to hear their voices screaming. Suddenly, after a few days, no sense and no news. We smelled a bad smell inside the apartment. We reached the police and when they arrived, they found them all dead. The man and his 4 children. The reason for the death of his children was that he was always locking them in the bathroom until they all died inside because of him. Their death was a big mystery to the police and to us as residents of the building. All of their faces, without exception, were very pale and their eyes were open. The forensic doctor confirmed that they had died of a heart attack. We were asking ourselves, I wonder what the 5 people saw that would make them die this death. Since then, we have been hearing them screaming, knowing that there was no one in the room. And we took this. When I knocked on the door of my apartment today and heard your voice, I was going to go out to tell you, but I found you entering their apartment, and I know that you heard it and heard the children's voice, and you know very well the siren that made you not know. You hear well because all the residents of the building, including me, my wife, and my daughter, have been in exactly the same way as you. and it has been a week and the tinnitus has gone away. That's why I wrote this to you. Advice, Uncle Nabil. Don't let your son go to them because it happened, and since I live in front of his apartment, my daughter entered the apartment and when she came out, she remained silent and she used to wake up screaming at night, and she remained in this situation for more than a month, and when I asked her, "Did you see what was going on inside?" She told me that when she entered the apartment, she found the children walking around cautiously, all of them without eyes. I did not believe her, but I did not ignore her words, and her words made me look around and find out the origin of this man, and one day I entered his apartment, and there I knew everything. As soon as I entered his room, I found many dolls stuck with many needles and nails, and a small bowl containing dried blood, as well as a knotted rope, a veil, and many magic tools. Since then, I have had a nightmare every day as soon as I close my eyes. I see him sitting cross-legged in front of the basin, holding a black cat that he slaughters inside the basin, covering one of the brides with its blood, and muttering many incomprehensible words. And before I wake up from the nightmare that recurs every day with the same details, I found him looking at me with a terrifying look with completely black eyes. Take care of Fahd, Uncle Nabil. Omar concluded his words, and what made me not hesitate the moment I walked away from the place was not only to avoid the old man and his children, and from that time I chose another place from which to make a living, and the situation with me remained fine, and this is the terrifying situation that happened to me. Done. If you have reached here, then today's experience is over. Don't forget to like, comment and share a lot.